Did Katie really let him go? Oh my God. I would have been super shocked if I didn't wake up to a spoiler alert the day after The Bachelorette Week 7 aired. But if you guys want to see who it is and you haven't seen yet, definitely stick around. We're about to get into it. Hi there, Simply Subbies. Welcome back to the Simply Stacey YouTube channel. It's your girl Stacey, and we're doing another recap of Bachelorette Season 17. Katie Thurston season. We are on week number 7. So the guys were not expecting such a big cut last week. We are down to 7 guys. We are at 7 guys, and that means next up is hometown dates. So all the guys are on edge, and they can't believe so many people went home. So Katie is with the ladies, Tayshia and Caitlin, and they're basically asking her, like, how's it going? How do you feel about the final 7? She said that she's confident in meeting, some of the guys' families next time. And she still doesn't know who her final 4 is, but she's definitely getting closer. And she has to determine if she wants to spend one-on-one time with a couple of the guys who have never had a one-on-one date, or if she just like to spend that time building bonds with the guys that she's already building huge, strong connections with. That's the dilemma. And there are actually 2 guys who still have not yet gotten a one-on-one date that are still here. We have Mike P, who is the virgin, and then Brendan. If you guys have noticed and you've been following me along this journey, I keep saying she keeps keeping Brendan around, but I definitely don't see them spending much time together or getting much talking time. So that right there proves my theory. He has yet to get a one-on-one date. But for some reason, even on the group dates, I seem to think that her and Mike P actually have a lot more conversations. And maybe it was because he actually won the one date when they had to tell her why she should pick them. And I believe he chose a poem to do so. And that's when he expressed that he was a virgin for the first time. And so since he won that date, I do think he got some one-on-one time with her. But Brendan seems to not have gotten any time with her at all. So of course, those 2 guys are like, you know what? This is make it or break it for us, and we definitely need to get in here and get us a date. Blake says, you know what, guys? It really is a big deal. If you haven't gotten one-on-one time with her at this time, you really are kind of behind. The date card arrives for the very first one-on-one date this week, and it goes to, drum roll, please. Okay, I don't have a drum roll. But anyway, it goes to Greg. Now, if you guys recall, Greg is the guy who got her very first impression rose, her first one-on-one date rose, and now he's on his second one-on-one date. So there goes to show you that Katie thought about it, and she determined that she'd rather spend a one-on-one time with a guy who she's already building a connection with, because she chose Greg for a second date. Now, he was her very first one-on-one date, so it has been a lot of time in between, and I'm sure their connection, although very strong in the beginning, has kind of waned a little bit, or at least they're both, or maybe him more than her, are on edge about if their connection is still strong as it was and if it still stands the test of time. Now, on all the group dates, I've seen him with her, and they've also had a lot of time together. Brendan is the only one I cannot recall her talking to very, very much this entire season. But there again, Mike P and Brendan are both kind of perturbed, because that means one of them will not get the one-on-one date, and they have to go to hometowns. That's a big deal for them to go and introduce someone to their family that they've never even spent one-on-one quality time with. And so of course they're making that all known. And of course Greg is super excited. He gets to go on another date with Katie. So fast forward to the one-on-one date. So Katie jumps up on Greg. I think that's her thing, guys. She likes that. It doesn't matter who it is she's hugging. She's running up to them, jumping up on them, wrapping her legs around their waist, and they're hugging and, kissing and whatnot. So the rest of the guys are kind of contemplating what it is they need this week in order for them to be comfortable taking Katie home to meet their families. One is Michael A, and he has every right to be kind of concerned because he is the single father. He has the son whose mom passed away of cancer, and he takes care of his in-laws, and he just can't go to hometowns with all these questions he still has, because he needs to know for sure if Katie understands what it would be like to be in his life, to be in his son James's life, and if she's actually ready for that. So anyway, we're on the one-on-one with Greg, and she's showing him a piece of her hometown, which is Seattle, Washington. And it's really cute. They have it set up like he's going on her hometown date. And so they have this makeshift market, and she throws like this humongous fake fish at him. Apparently they throw fish at the market at people. I don't know. It's this huge fish. He does not catch it. It flaps all around in the air. He's like, oh my God, it looks real when it was flapping around in the air. So they do that. They try cracking oysters and eating them. Katie cannot get oysters down, so apparently those are not her thing. I don't know why she chose to share that moment with him. He's like, you don't like them? She's like, yeah, of course I do, as she's gagging on the oysters. There's also a picture of a gum wall that they take. They chew some gum and blow bubbles and like kiss with the bubble gum, and it's cute, but apparently that's something that's really popular in Seattle. I had heard a few spoiler alerts saying that they knew she picked Greg because they saw the gum wall, which is a Seattle favorite. So they're like, Greg apparently sticks around until, her hometown date, because people saw that in, I guess, the previews or the clips. But they were wrong, because they are still in New Mexico on the resort. They just made it look like it was in Seattle. So next, there is Andrew S. and Brendan. They are sitting in the hot tub. And again, Brendan is going on and on about like how, a one-on-one would change things for him. And Andrew is basically saying, yeah, definitely. And so I had a one-on-one with her last week. We got really closer. It bonded us a lot more. And until you have that, you probably, are a little bit behind as well. Next up, we're back on the date with Katie and Greg. Greg likes doing all the things in her hometown because he says he gets to feel like it's the real her and this is how their life could be. He says, she makes him nervous. She echoes his sentiments. He also makes her nervous. And he says it has really been a roller coaster, which we all know Greg has been the one who definitely needed more reassurance. And Katie has been giving him that. She said he looked like a sad puppy dog. And I'm like, Greg, you might want to dial it back because that's not attractive. But apparently Katie is still very much so attracted to Greg. And they said that the first one-on-one was so long ago, but they definitely feel like it is the same. She's noticed that she's had to do stuff to reassure him. She hopes that he has felt reassured in each of those moments. He said he has. He appreciates that. And he just couldn't wait for another day to see her. She said she could not wait for another day to see him, which is why she gave him his second one-on-one date, as opposed to giving it to one of the gentlemen who did not have a date with her at all. He says that he cannot wait to introduce her to his mom. He knows his mom will love her, and he hasn't brought anyone home to meet his mom in a long time, but he is confident in their relationship. So again, we're at Michael A. and he's, FaceTiming his son James, and they're really showing us how important him and Katie having deeper conversations this week are, because he is crying and he is sad and he is missing his son, and he wouldn't be here and sticking around if it wasn't really going to be worth it in the end. But he definitely thinks that it will be with Katie, but he definitely needs some time with her this week so that he can get all of his questions answered and know that this is going to be solid. Okay, so now we're on to part 2 of the one-on-one date. There's always a part 2. There's always a dinner. She feels like he was going to leave. She says that he was giving her the impression that he was going to leave. That's kind of why she reassured him a lot, because it just seemed like it was really hard for him, and she could tell that. And he said, as hard as it was for him and as much of a roller coaster as it was, he would never leave her because he just knows that it would be worth it in the end. He does say that, sometimes he finds himself being insecure about certain things. And his sister has told him that that is the least attractive part about him. And he's even been bullied, when he was younger. And sometimes he's just scared as hell. But she's been incredible. And he feels like he is the luckiest man in the world. And he hopes that she knows that. She says she hopes that he knows how she feels within their connection. They really like each other. They do make out. He says that he isn't falling in love with her. And that's why he's been, kind of scared. And she also says that, she's scared as well. She's, kind of on the same page as him. And of course, he gets her one-on-one date rose. She says she's falling in love with him. That's what she tells the camera in the confessionals. And it's super exciting and scary. Okay. Then she says, because there's always a part 3 as well. She says it wouldn't be a Seattle date without the rain. They're outside on the porch of whatever building they're in. Nice clear evening. It's nighttime. It's dark outside. She has on a coat. And then she says, hit it. And whatever happens, it starts pouring down raining. It's like what movies are made of. They run out. He's like, are you kidding me? Because it literally was not raining in New Mexico. They literally run outside in the rain. He picks her up. They're kissing. It's definitely straight out of a movie. I can't remember what movie it is. If you guys know the movie that they were recreating, please comment down below because now I'm super curious. But they're like dancing in the rain, kissing in the rain. He's twirling her around. And it is amazing because you can see right on the other side, there's no rain. So the producers had it together. They created this scene straight for her. And maybe it was Sleepless in Seattle. Let me know, guys, in the comments down below. Let me know if the movie was Sleepless in Seattle, but it's Seattle and it always rains in Seattle. And so she created rain just for him. So cute, so endearing, and I do like Greg for Katie. The group date card arrives, and we all know that whoever is left off of the group date will be the one getting the second one-on-one date this week. And so, of course, Brendan and Mike P are both hoping that it is them because they know that this is what they need. I will tell you one thing. I am almost a Bachelor, Bachelorette super fan, Bachelor Nation super fan, and it's like I said before with Brendan, like, I don't know if they're setting him up to be the guy to go home next because there's always a guy who hasn't gotten a one-on-one date and they're kind of behind all the other guys. And the lead always says, I just don't think we can get there in time because my relationships are stronger with other people, which is because they've already been spending a long time with these people. So I don't know if that's how this is going to go, but we're about to see because here's the group date card and they get to reading. There is a Justin. There is Andrew S. There is Blake. There is Michael A. and Brendan. Brendan rounds out the group date and he is not too thrilled about it. Now, while Mike P feels sorry for Brendan, he's super excited for himself because this means he actually gets to spend one-on-one time with Katie. And so he's hoping that this will give him a chance to solidify their relationship and so he can get on an even playing field with the rest of the guys and maybe make it to the end. Brendan is really disappointed. He's feeling like, well, why would she not give me a one-on-one date? And why am I even here if she doesn't even want to spend time with me one-on-one because, hometowns are around the corner. I'm the only one who hasn't gotten one. Greg has gotten 2. It really plays with a person's psyche. So he decides to leave the group of guys while they are all discussing Mike P getting the date card for a one-on-one date. Brendan actually shows up at Katie's door. He knocks. She's looking all kind of confused because, of course, she's not ready for a date. She isn't expecting anyone. She hasn't, lounge clothes. And so she invites him in like, oh my God, I'm, okay, like you're here. How's it going? And he basically, this is the saddest part. So he's coming in really to plead his case about needing a one-on-one date with her and possibly hoping that she will maybe give him an additional one-on-one date. But it does not go as planned. He said he's only had group dates and cocktail parties and he's been kind of down. But what if he had a whole day with her? He says, what if we had a whole day together? He couldn't express himself really like he wanted to on a group date, but she get to know him. And with hometowns next week. And she says, you know what, Brendan, let me stop you. And basically she says, not where he was going, because he was definitely going down the route of please make them add another date so we can actually get our chance. And she says, let me stop you. We're just not, I don't think we'll get there in time. I don't think there's enough time. I have stronger connections with other people. Hometowns are right around the corner, and I wouldn't even want to make you sit through another rose ceremony or the group date tomorrow. And basically, that's it. This is the end of your journey, Brendan. Nice knowing you. Nice to meet you. Like I said, I never saw a bond with them. They never really had much time to talk. She did say the few conversations they did have, like during a cocktail hour or a group date, she enjoyed it. He was funny. He made her laugh. But that was basically the extent of it. So, for some reason, Brendan actually visits Blake's room. Blake opens the door and he's like, yeah, man, that's it. It's a wrap. I'm gone. And so maybe Blake gave him Katie's room number. I'm not sure, but I'm like, Connor B got to go and tell all the guys about it. Remember, they had this whole emotional goodbye. But he only goes to see Blake, gives Blake a hug, and then he exits stage left to his little car waiting outside, and he says nothing to the other guys. So I thought that was a little odd or awkward, but maybe somebody just needed to know. Maybe Blake was his roommate next door, adjourning room. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's what happened. So next it is the group date. So now we only have Blake, Andrew S., Michael A., and Justin. So there are 4 guys on this group date. And the majority of them I know Andrew and Justin had their one-on-one dates last week. Michael A. had one a little bit earlier on. And then Blake had one as soon as he arrived. So this is an art exhibit. So they walk in and it's like all of these paintings. They all have a floral theme, like they're flowers. But they also have a different theme, which is like female reproductive organs inside of these flowers. I mean, nice paintings. So, Katie acts like, oh, what do you guys think of this? And Andrew's like, I mean, they're interesting. And they're like, tell me more. He's like, does anybody else want to take it? Because you can tell he's like a little uncomfortable talking about these paintings of female reproductive organs, right? So, Blake points out one. And the artist is there. She introduces herself. And they said, what do you think of this? He says, well, it's messy and the colors are kind of aggressive. And then the artist says, why? That's a self-portrait. Awkward. So Katie toasts to inspiration, and basically the guys get a chance to express themselves and they get to do a painting. She said she just wanted them to have fun. It's been rough, for them, people leaving and all this stuff. So really she just wants to focus on fun, and she gives them time to paint whatever it is they want to paint. She's over there talking to Andrew S. and she cheers him, toasts to inspiration. She actually kisses him in front of the other guys. Justin's looking across the room like, what is going on? Like, she kisses him on the lips in front of the other guys. I always loved her and Andrew S.'s chemistry. I think that he really likes her and she really likes him. And I just really was shipping them the entire, I really ship her and Blake the most. So that means in my mind, Andrew S. is a runner-up, but I really like them together and I could see her picking either him or Blake. So Michael A. is up first. He does a clay sculpture, and it is a rear view backside of a woman with a little back, small of her back, and her buttocks on display. And, that is his artwork. Next up is Jason. And it's so funny because to me, it looks like a kid picture. I'm like, Justin, you're the artist. What is this? So I see like stick figures, everything. So he says, this emphasizes our journey. That is the name of it. And he goes to everything. So like emptiness before, the word empty is on there. Now happily married. Now there is a rose in the center that is very elegant. So I said, oh, I got it. You spent all your time creating the rose and then you ain't had no time left, so you just drew these little stick figures and the word empty and all this stuff and made it a storyboard. Okay, I see what you did here. Blake is like, it looks like he drew it with his left hand, even though there was these rolls that was really nice. Okay, so next up is Andrew S. And he actually had a really good painting. And I'm like, okay, he's an artist too. So he's a football player who plays overseas. And he draws a man with his, like, it's basically just the mouth wide open with a sushi roll with chopsticks going in. And he basically says that, you know, he's getting ready to eat sushi because they are both foodies and she likes eating sushi and they like eating together. If you guys remember one of the group dates, he brought in this box of like tacos and candies and stuff, and they like did a taco cheers and stuff like that. And I guess they always talk about food on their alone time when they're like at a cocktail party or whatever. Next up is Blake, and he titled his... Actually, I don't know what he titled it, but all I know is there was a black child screen all over the whole thing. Like, it was all blurred out. So, I don't know what the heck Blake drew, but some of the guys was like, you know, one thing about Blake is he gonna take it there. He gonna go all the way. And basically says there's no point in playing it safe. And him being openly sex positive person, he went all out. Katie is cracking up. Everybody is laughing. Like, all the men are like, what the heck, Blake? And basically he just says it's the beginning of life. And even Katie is like, oh my goodness. Like, she kind of covers her eyes, but she's cracking up because it's so funny. He says it's a representation of beautiful things. Whatever that means, I have no idea what Blake drew. And I'm almost certain we don't really want to know. Okay, so then they're on the second half of the group date, which is basically just the cocktail hour. And so Katie basically says she has to talk to all four of the guys. Hometowns are coming up. And she needs to have good conversations with all of them so she can determine who she's going to pick. So up first is Blake. Blake, he pulls Katie. And she says it's easiest with him. And they are so much alike. They actually talk, and Blake does admit that he is not currently in love with her. But if things continue to go the way they are, he could definitely see that happening for them. He's not going to lie to her. And so, you know, she probably is further along with the other guys than she is with Blake. Because, of course, he came midway into it. She already had built these strong connections with other people. But I do think that they're catching up quite swiftly. But there is always a concern there that she won't be able to get all the way there with Blake. Or Blake won't be able to get all the way there with her and be in love with her and ready to propose in the next 2 episodes. Okay, so next up is Justin. And basically, he had painted her these butterflies. They're way better than his kitty painted with the stick figures and the really nice rose in the middle. And he basically said that's like the journey, like he was in a cocoon and being with her. He's opened up and he's expressing his feelings. And she says, yeah, you know, you were my first kiss and we've come a long way. We've come really far. He says he's not forced at all. It's natural with her. And she says it's easy with him. You know, they have a strong and natural connection. Next up is Michael A. So Michael A is ready for hometowns, but he is scared. He said he had to ask Katie, like, you know, I have James and, you know, how do you see that working out? Do you see yourself in our lives and everything? She said she's never going to force a relationship. She's never going to force him into anything. But she's always told him that when she gives him a rose, it's also giving a rose to James because she knows that they're a package deal. And she's excited to meet him and she's excited to like play with him and get the little juice boxes ready, and she's thought about it like every day. And so that right there answers a lot of his questions and his concerns. And he says, I can assure you that no one can love you the way that I can, and you know, love is all that matters. And basically when she told him that, you know, they'll just figure the rest out, love is what matters, he was okay with that. He was excited about the possibilities and about her meeting his family. Next up is Andrew S. So Andrew S. has his own set of concerns. So he plays football in Austria currently in overseas league. And so that's a question of hers. Like, what is next for you? Are you going to continue to play football? And he basically tells Katie, like, you know what? The truth of the matter is I really don't know. I guess it really depends on how things work out here with you, because I'm ready to give it all up and start a family and do all that stuff with you, basically here in the States. And she says, I would never want that for you. When you talk about football, you light up. I understand it is your passion, even if it means that we may have to be long distance, or not even long distance, but if we spend half of the year in one place and then half of the year in another place, like she, if they were together, would be willing to do that for him, because she would never want him to give up on anything that he is so passionate about and that he loves. And she knows that he can do it. He's very athletic. And she does say that she's falling for him. And of course, they definitely make out. After that, he's all certain that he's going to be getting the group date rose. Then Andrew also takes her to a place where he's recreated their one-on-one date. Remember, he had the one-on-one date with the lights hanging from the sky or ceiling and the notes. And so he has her reach up and grab one. He picks her up and she grabs the note, opens it up, and it definitely says, "I'm falling for you." They kiss and they make out there. And it's just super romantic. And like I said, I've always liked them two together. And so she got that assurance from Andrew. So now it's time to give out the group date rose. And of course, she mentions everyone. She says, "Andrew, you swept me off my feet quite literally. You're always vulnerable." And she respects that. She says that Blake came late, but they still have so much more to explore. She said, "Justin, you always speak and express yourself so eloquently." And then Michael A. actually gets the rose. And so she will definitely be meeting his son, James. And that's exciting for him. Andrew S. does express how disappointed he is, because he really thought they had such a great conversation that it would be him to get the rose. So the guys are basically just discussing who's getting the final two roles, because as we know now, Greg already has a rose. She is going to meet his family. She's also going to meet Michael A.'s family. But there are three guys left. We have Andrew S., we have Blake, and we have Justin, because Brendan actually went home before they even had the group. Oh, I forgot Mike P. Sorry, there's also Mike P. However, Mike P is going on a one-on-one date, so if he gets a rose, it would be on that date or not. So there's one-on-one date with Mike P, and they both are dressed in white. She says she never thought she'd date a virgin. He's changed her mind about that. They have, a strong connection. This is their first one-on-one date. And they are introduced to the cuddle queen, Jean. She's a cuddle expert. So I'm like, okay. So she's basically saying, like, she needs to see a little bit more from him. Like, she knows that they can talk, but she has to see if they do have that physical chemistry, because, he ain't pushing up on her because he a virgin. He not built that way. So they start with an oxytocin hug. So they have to breathe, and they're just like sitting in each other's lap, and they're all cuddled up, which is kind of awkward. One, for a first one-on-one date, period. Also, him being a virgin. It's just a lot going on in this moment, and I could understand that they both would probably be kind of, it would just be an awkward date. However, with some of the other guys, I could see her doing this today and they would have had a good time. Blake, for sure. They just would have been making out the whole time. Most of them she made out with on first dates anyway. So it's just, it's a little different. The next thing is a lap of luxury. And so he lays his head in her lap. And she's like rubbing his hair. And it's kind of awkward. He says it reminds him of his mom. And he goes into this whole soliloquy, I believe, about his mom. Now, he's probably talking to the confessional, but he's like, yeah, Katie reminds me of my mom, this, and the other, She's like, well, this is a good day, but I usually prefer dinner before I get to the cuddling. She doesn't really seem to be feeling it. She says that she understands that he doesn't want to have sex for a specific reason, and she actually respects that. She used to judge people who, were abstinent or abstaining from sex. He tells her that she reminds him of his mom, so he does actually voice that. And she takes on other people's feelings, and he says he knows how hard it is for her to go through this process. And she says yes, because she does take on other people's feelings. Each and every time she lets someone go, it's getting harder and harder to break up with someone. And then Mike P, being the guy that he is, says, well, I'd rather someone break my heart 1,000 times than to break anyone else's heart. You're like, oh, Mike, I'm not feeling it for them. I'm just going to be honest. He's at the confessional. He's talking about there's going to be dinner coming up next. And so, he has to go get changed for dinner. And of course, same thing that happened with Connor B happens again. Katie walks up to him, stealing her white that she had on her little short set. And she's crying, her eyes are red. And so we already know this ain't finna go the way he wants it to go. And basically she tells him there's no reason for her to bring him on to dinner or to meet his family because, basically she has to build stronger relationships with the other guys. And she's more bonded with him. And she knows he's a great guy and he's a great catch. But basically, it's not his time, and she has to let him go. So I'm like, in this moment, she probably wishes she would have picked up 2 one-on-one dates with guys she already liked instead of even giving him the opportunity. But she probably felt like he really did deserve the opportunity, and she wanted to see if there was actually physical connection. But this man kept talking about his mama. So he is a good guy, but good guys finish last in this case. Okay, guys, so there is no cocktail party tonight. Katie knows what she's going to do. She is talking to Tayshia and Caitlin, and she just says it's really hard, and she doesn't want to pick the wrong person or let the wrong person go home, but she feels like she'll know when she sees him. So basically, Katie's mind is not actually made up. She feels like when she goes in and she sees the 5 guys, she'll know the 2 that she is going to keep. I guess the ones that she just can't live without. And yeah, so that is that. She believes her husband is in that room. That is what she starts her speech off saying. And she says it's very exciting and it is also very scary. So the first person, there are 3 guys who do not have roses because remember, Mike P went home. Greg already has a rose. He is there. And she has 3 roses to hand out. So only one person actually has a rose. We have Blake, we have Andrew S, and Justin is still there. There are 5 guys. One has a rose, that's Greg. The 4 from the date. Justin, Andrew S. Oh, and Michael A already has a rose too. So 2 people have rose. He got the group date rose, one-on-one day rose. So she only has 2 roses left to get her down to the final 4. And here goes. The very first rose goes to Blakey. I really like Blake for her. I do think he came in late, so they have some catching up to do, but I think they can definitely make it because it seemed like he already had his heart, mind, and everything set on Katie from the get-go, so it's going to be easy for him to do that. And when he came out there with the boombox the week to cheer her up, that just took the cake for me. So I guess in her mind, too, that's something she may be debating at the end is whether or not they both fall in love with each other since they didn't have as much time as everyone else or if he loves her back. But Blake is still around. The second rose, now we're down to Justin and Andrew S. The second rose actually goes to Justin. So, I know they have a good vibe and they've had some good times and they did that whole wedding date situation. To me, I still think she had way more connection and more good dates with Andrew S. However, he is not selected, and so you can tell that he is super shocked. I am super shocked, and I'll get back to what I said at the very beginning of this here video. I was super shocked, but I did wake up to his cousin, who I did not know this was his cousin. His name is Clay. He was a football player, I believe, on Rachel Lindsay's season of The Bachelorette. I can't recall, but there was a date, and he was playing football at the time, and I think he was actually in the NFL. He came, they did a football date, rugby type of date. He got injured and he went home to have surgery because he didn't want to ruin his career. So he didn't even get to stick around, but he has been on, since then, I believe, 2 Bachelor in Paradise shows once he was actually out of the league. And everybody was like, oh, he's trying to rebrand himself and, get a new thing. He had a whole relationship with another Bachelor castmate. Then he got one on there. Either way, none of those things worked out. But Andrew S is his cousin. So when I woke up on Instagram, because I follow Clay, he's from Chicago, I saw a post of him and Andrew S. And I'm like, okay, this is the very next day after it aired. I live on the East Coast, or at least Eastern Standard Time. And so the Bachelorette comes on at 8 o'clock at night and it lasts for 2 hours. I go to the gym every morning between 5:30 and 6 o'clock a.m. And so I don't normally watch it until the very next day. But when I woke up to surf Instagram, first thing I see is a picture of Clay and Andrew S. And he's like, cousin, you'll find your person. So I already knew he was going home, but that really took the cake. I would have been super shocked and surprised had I not seen that beforehand. And I was so mad because I have not looked at Reality Steve and I've had no spoilers so far. And that was my very first spoiler. And it really touched me because I liked Andrew. But I like Andrew. I hope he makes it on Bachelor in Paradise. And yeah, he's a really attractive guy. And I mean, they real cousins, not play cousins. He had pictures of them together when they were kids, overseas together. They real family. So I was like, okay, I see what you did here. They both play basketball, one in the NFL. I think Andrew said he played in the NFL for 30 seconds, for one day or something. But he mostly played overseas. And yeah, I hope he gets a chance to get on Paradise. I think I got some girls in mind for him. I like Bree for Ivan, but maybe Bree and Andrew S. Who knows? I don't even know what's going to go on, but he's definitely a part of Bachelor Nation. He said, can we please drop the S? I'm just Andrew. I don't want to be Andrew S anymore. Andrew M was gone a long time ago. So I'm going to stop calling him Andrew S and we're just going to call him Andrew from here on out. But Andrew goes home and I am so sad. She asked him, can she walk him out? She basically sit down and have her chat. She's crying. She says she can't give him 100%, which he gives everything he does 100%, and she's barely strong. She does have some stronger connections. She cries, he cries too. He says it's bittersweet, but she will always be dear to his heart. He really, liked her. They're so glad they met. She says, I'm so glad I met you. He says the same. She walks him out. He is in the cab. He's in his car and he's sad and he's crying. And I just really like him. So I think I have to change my vote. I said Connor for the next Bachelor. I changed my mind. I would say Andrew S. But so I read something, but I didn't read it in detail. I'm going to go back and read it. But he was in the media news for some tweets or something he posted a few years ago. So he may not be a great candidate because he has something going on. I didn't actually read it, so I don't know what it is, but who knows what it is. I hope it wasn't anything too damning, but it could be. Who knows? This is cancel culture. I hope they don't cancel him because I really liked him. Yes, so I do think he apologized for whatever it was he said, but I can't recall what he said because I didn't read the article fully. But yes, so guys, we would think that the show is over, but the show is far from over. So he gets in, he says his goodbyes. So we're on to the next day. Katie is in her room and she gets a knock on the door and it's Andrew S. So Andrew is at her door and I'm like, wait, I thought he went home yesterday. And he was basically saying, you know what, Katie, this is not us. We always end smiling and on a positive note, and I just really couldn't leave without us being on a positive note. Now, in that moment, she was already talking to the production team or the cameras and just said that was the first decision that she actually made where she was not certain. So there again, she didn't know if it was Andrew. It could have been Andrew at the end or not. She's like, I wonder if I sent someone home that could have been my person. Did I send the wrong person home? So when he came, when I say she was ecstatic, excited, she lit up, and she was just so happy to see him, which in my mind, be like, girl, you probably made the wrong decision. I think him over Justin any day. But I wasn't in a relationship, so I don't know. But I definitely would have picked him over Justin any day, just because of their interactions, and they seem like they would be a fun couple to be together at the end of this. So anyway, Katie says that she's so glad that he came. She's glad she met him. And, you know, she does even express to him that that was the first decision that she wasn't absolutely 100% certain about. And he was like, I understand, but I'm happy that I met you. You're a great person. You know, you're always going to be dear to my heart. And she just said, I didn't feel confident in that decision. She said it was real. He said it was really real for her. And so he's happy that she said that. It lets him know that it was real for him, just like it for her, just like it was for him. He is super proud of her and who she's become. And he just had to stop by. On his way out, he pulls like this note out of his pants pocket. And he's like, I want to give this to you. You can read it once I'm gone. And, they hug. She closes the door behind him. She does not let this man get very far. He leaves. As soon as he leaves, she reads the note. And the note says, if you change your mind, I'll be waiting, with like a smiley face. So he's like, listen, if this don't work out, I'll be here. So he's leaving, and she just like breaks down. Like she's like crying, and literally she turns around barefoot, runs out of her hotel room, is calling his name, Andrew. Now, he's gone by now. He's downstairs or something. She runs down the emergency stairs. She runs outside, and she actually catches him like in the lobby area to wherever she's staying. And she's like, Andrew. And she just like runs up to him, jumps on him, hugs him, and just is crying. Because at first he was like, no more tears. I wanted to leave on a happy note. And it was like, I'm so glad I met you. It was just like so emotional. I'm like, anybody that has that type of reaction to a person, you definitely made the wrong decision. So in my heart of hearts, I'm like, yes, Andrew still got a shot. And Clay just threw me off. Because like I said, I didn't actually read the post. I just saw the pictures, and it was like, dang, I think he might have went home. But I didn't read the post. She jumps on him, hugs him, crying. And then he says, whenever, if ever, I'll be here. And so she says, well, if there's any way that you could stay, would you? And so it probably, as much as he wanted to be like, yeah, I'm going to stick around, he was like, you know what? Actually, I'm still in the place where you did not pick me. You eliminated me. And so, like, right now I can't. But, like, later on, if y'all don't work out, you can call me up and we can try this thing again. But right now, I can't rightfully stay here and you put me through this same rose ceremony type of situation again and you don't choose me. So he bowed down. He said no. But she was going to keep him around. I don't know how she was going to pull that off. I don't know if she was going to send somebody else home or what. But Andrew did not stay, so he is gone. Hopefully he gets over Katie in enough time to get on Bachelor in Paradise, because that's exactly where I want to see him. She says, so a kiss goodbye? He's like, absolutely. And they make out. She really likes this man. I don't know why she did not choose him, but she did not. They kiss, they make out, and he leaves, and that is the end. I cannot wait to see Hometowns. I think the men tell all are next week. Come back and follow us, subscribe to my channel, like and comment, and most importantly, share my videos, share the knowledge and share the wealth. Come back to our channel, hit the notification bell so you can always be notified each and every time I post. Until next time, see ya.